There is a report out there that the Miami Heat are interested in a DeMar DeRozan trade this offseason. This is something that would not be the first time Miami has shown interest in DeRozan if you just flash back 365 days. We'll talk about DeMar and if I'm interested in acquiring DeRozan on today's show. I am Nic Rohloff. But before we get into that, make sure you have hit that thumbs up icon. Last week, the most liked video got 255 likes. This week, the goal is to get to 300. That's what the bosses want. So let's do it. Hit that thumbs up icon. Help your boy out right now. All right, let's get over to DeMar DeRozan now because this is a player that Pat Riley showed interest in just 365 days ago. Now, they did not go all in to try to acquire him due to contract, and DeRozan wanted to be paid more than Miami would offer DeMar, but a player nonetheless that Riley has been intrigued with in the past. And Brett Siegel of Clutch Points said this in his article that reported the interest, saying the Miami Heat are expected to be buyers this offseason, seek immediate upgrades around Bam, Adebayo, Tyler Herro. DeRozan is once again viewed by other teams as a potential target for Riley and the Heat. So you see the quote there, but in that blurb, you saw a couple other things mentioned, and in his article and full report around Miami, this is what he mentioned talking about the Heat's offseason outlook. He said that the Heat are expected to be buyers, which does not surprise me at all, as you've heard them be mentioned as trade suitors for Kevin Durant and other players. The goal this offseason is to allegedly find upgrades around the team and around Bam Adebayo and Tyler Herro specifically. And the team, as always, are interested in acquiring some all-stars via the trade market, as well as making some other moves for better players. But I saw a lot of fans potentially be skeptical of this report from Siegel due to him not being the most credible guy out there. Now, I do think that he has inside sources, and I will say this as well. Like, none of the things he said surprises me. Like, I'm serious. Like, if you were to tell me that the Heat were going to be buyers this offseason, and like Sham said this, wouldn't be shocked, told me they are interested in getting the team better around Bam and Herro, wouldn't be shocked. And they're interested in all-stars. They always are. So that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Now, when it comes to DeMar DeRozan, I am skeptical that the Heat are interested in DeMar. Not to say it's a bad idea, but I just am not sure if that is a move that Pat Riley is willing to make now based off the current roster construction. Either way, let's talk about DeMar DeRozan. First, we're going to always look at the contracts of these players. It's actually not a bad contract whatsoever. He signed a 3-year deal with the Kings last offseason. They got $24.7 million this upcoming year, $25.7 million in 26-27. Those are both fully guaranteed years, so no player option, no team option, nothing like that. He is on your team. But it's at a relatively solid price point because when you look at the production that DeMar DeRozan brings to the table, for him to give you that on this salary, it's not bad whatsoever. Just think about the contracts that Miami are giving out right now to Terry Rozier, who makes $26.6 million, so more than both the next years of DeRozan, and Andrew Wiggins, who's making $27 and change this year, and then $30 million in 26-27 on a player option. Like, as much as you could say, well, DeRozan's 35, he's so much older than Wiggins and Rozier, he's given you a much better play than the two players that I just mentioned, and they're both making more money than DeMar DeRozan. Another underrated aspect of DeMar is that he is always healthy. I mean, over the course of his career in Toronto, in Chicago, and now in Sacramento, he doesn't miss games. He will always give you 65-plus games, which with the Miami Heat is something that we've had to deal with for most of the last 4 seasons. Now, this past year, Herro and Bam both played 75-plus games, which is a big ask from Pat Riley, and they delivered, which was good. But if you were to have a trio of Herro, Bam, and DeRozan all playing 75-plus games like all 3 of them did last year, well, then you'd be able to have a lot of continuity within your organization, your lineup, and your starting 5 and your clutch personnel lineup as well, and that could only help build a more successful regular season. We're going to talk about DeMar DeRozan more here in a second, but be the GM for me. Are you interested in DeMar DeRozan? I know we talked a lot about him last offseason. Are you interested in him again this offseason? Type Y for yes or type N for no. As I have consistently reference to in this video so far, they were interested last offseason. I always think that's important to bring up. Now, a potentially acquiring DeRozan last year, that was to work alongside Bam, Jimmy, and Herro. I don't think Herro would have been traded for DeMar. I think it would have been a Rozier type of contract, a Duncan Robinson type of contract. It would have been a sign and trade as DeRozan was a free agent. So that's what it likely would have been for Miami, unless he signed for like the vet min or something like that, which I think the Heat tried to get him to do, which obviously he's not going to do that. But it would have been an interesting fit because you would have obviously had Bam at center, and then you would have ran small ball Jimmy DeRozan at the 3-4, and then Herro at the 2, which would have been fascinating. But this year, if you acquire DeRozan, you're playing him at the 3 because it's going to be a Herro, DeRozan, Bam, Ware 4, and then you got to fill in that point guard role. And is that a lineup that works? Well, let's take a look at DeMar DeRozan's shot chart from this past season, because we know by watching him and over the course of his career, he is not a good three-point shooter by any stretch of the imagination. He does most of his work in the mid-range. And you look at his numbers, though, in comparison to league average and then himself. He doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but he is an efficient guy from the corner. Shot just about league average from the left corner. Shot about above league average by 3% from the right corner. But the part that is so fascinating to me is his ability to score inside the paint and in the mid-range. Shot 4% than league average in the mid-range outside the paint. Just around the free throw line, outside of restricted area, in the paint, 55%, 11% better than league average. And then at the rim, shot 71.9%, which was 5% better than league average. So he is an above-average guy in the mid-range, inside the paint. He dominates that area. That is something that he has done throughout his entire career. Now, you might say, well, is that something that could prohibit Miami from being a good offensive team because Bam Adebayo likes to work a lot in the mid-range? Herro usually works in the mid-range, but has evolved his game into more of that modern-day three-point or paint touch type of guy, but in the clutch, he would get to his mid-range spot. Would that be a clunky fit with DeRozan, Bam, and Herro? That is the main concern I have. But you saw over this past season how good DeRozan is in the mid-range. Like, overall, when you look at his shot ranges, less than 8 feet, which it came 18% of his field goal attempts, shot 61%. The most amount of his shots came between the 8 and 16 foot range, where he shot 51.3%, an excellent mark. And then in the deep mid-range, 16 to 24 feet, 27% of his shots, he shot 44.9%. So this is a player that inside the three-point arc just is an efficient, dominating presence. And another thing that he would bring to the Heat offensively that I really like is his ability to get to the free throw line. We saw how much of an advantage that was for Miami in the Jimmy Butler years, as Jimmy has consistently been a top 5, top 10 guy in terms of getting to the free throw line on a nightly basis. It's what helped kind of smooth over some of those issues and struggles offensively late in clutch games. Well, DeRozan would bring that as well. He had a 33.7% free throw rate this past year. He has, as a career, been high 30s, low 40s, and he also averaged 5.7 free throw attempts a night, which was 12th inside the NBA. Miami, after losing Jimmy Butler, struggled to get to the free throw line. It was either Bam or Herro, and it felt like those were the only two that could generate free throws on their own. You add in DeRozan, that will help alleviate some of the stress on your offense because you're getting yourself easy looks at the line, whether it's DeRozan getting fouled on the forearm in the mid-range or getting to the rim. You now have Herro, DeRozan, and Bam attacking that mid-range to paint area, and you could generate a lot of easy looks for you at the free throw line, which certainly is an enticing option on how to improve this Heat offense that struggled last year. We're going to continue to talk about DeRozan here, but hey, we said we want the like button up. Well, guess what? Don't jinx it either. If you want the Heat to make a big move this upcoming offseason, hit that thumbs up icon. Can't hurt. Don't jinx it, like the video today. An added appeal of adding DeRozan to this roster is his clutch gene. I mean, this is one of the most clutch players in the NBA over the last 4 seasons, but specifically again last year, where he took over as that clutch guy for Sacramento with De'Aaron Fox out for the beginning of the year and then him being traded midseason. He played in 37 clutch games. What is a clutch game? If you need a refresher, it's a 5-point game or less with 5 minutes to go. Well, he averaged the 5th most points per game in those clutch game situations, which I just laid out. Shot 44.1% from the field, which is 33rd in the NBA. And then look at the rest here. He is top 15 in net rating and offensive rating, which, by the way, shows you how good of a defensive rating he had in that clutch moments at 109.6. That's pretty solid. Got to the free throw line, 14th highest rate, shot 88% from the line, had a super high usage rate. So for him to have the efficiency on the offensive end and blend that in with his high usage rate in these clutch situations just displays how good he actually was when the game got tight late. And this is something very important for the Miami Heat because I would argue they were the worst clutch team in the NBA last year. We talk about how often they blew leads in the fourth quarter and double-digit leads in the second half. Well, they played the 5th most clutch games last season. 5th most! But had an abysmal record of 14-28. The win percentage of 33.3% was the 28th best mark in basketball. 3rd worst. They had the worst offensive rating in clutch games last year, 95.6, which is an absolute embarrassment. And we talked about the free throw rate. Bottom 3 in the NBA, and the field goal percentage, bottom 5 in the NBA. Like, you want to talk about one of the worst clutch offensive teams in NBA history, let alone just last season. 95.6 offensive rating in the clutch last year was so bad that the next worst team was the Toronto Raptors at 100.8. A full 5.2 difference in offensive rating between them and the next team. That is so incomprehensible to where you just want to add anyone. I don't know if that tells you Bam Adebayo, who, by the way, actually had good numbers in the clutch this past year, should have gotten more. Or if that's a indictment on Tyler Herro struggles that time in the clutch, an indictment on the rest of the team, the coaching staff. Overall, I don't care what the individual stats say on Herro or Bam in the clutch. It's as a team. You have to be better than that. And if you're adding a player in DeMar DeRozan, who was statistically a top 15, 20 player in the NBA in the clutch last year, well, that's only going to help you in those moments late in games, which is something Miami certainly has to improve on. So what would a trade idea look like if you were acquiring DeRozan? I think this is what it would look like. There's a report out there that the Kings could look to move off of DeMar. I don't know what they would want, whether it's draft capital. I don't know how much he's worth with his contract, his age, and his floor spacing concerns. But what I'm offering is Terry Rozier, Jaime Jaquez Jr., a second-round pick. The salary lines up. Sacramento would get Jaquez, a third-year guy, a youngish player, a West Coast player. That's where he grew up. That's where he went to college. That could put butts in seats. Could be a good developmental piece. If I'm going to be honest, I'm not offering anything else other than this. I'm just not. Because of the age, because of the offensive fit concerns of him not being able to shoot threes consistently and space the floor alongside your two best players in Tyler Herro and Adebayo, I'm just skeptical of adding him to this group. So I'm not offering multiple picks. I'm not offering a first-round pick. I'm not offering Nikola Jovic. I think I could be convinced on maybe offering Nikola Jovic due to his contract being extension eligible soon and you having to make that decision. But I am certainly not offering a first-round pick for DeMar DeRozan, and I have no issue saying I'm drawing the line in the sand on no first-rounders going to Sacramento in that potential deal. But let me know your thoughts. Would you make this trade for DeMar DeRozan? Would you trade Terry Rozier for salary purposes? 1-year deal left, could be an appealing option for Sacramento, and then Jaquez in a second for DeMar DeRozan, type A for accept or type D for decline. I would make this DeMar DeRozan trade if, and I want to preference this big time, if I knew the Heat were also trading for a legit point guard this offseason. Because to me, if you were to just re-sign Davion Mitchell and your 5-man starting lineup was Davion Mitchell, Tyler Herro, DeRozan, Bam, Ware, and then you fill out your bench with some players coming back to the roster, the 20th overall pick, and some vet min guys, that is at best, first-round exit 6th seed. It just is not going to do anything in the playoffs. And I'm not trading and making a deal like this to just be a mediocre team. So if you make that trade and then package your first-round picks you can trade this offseason, which there's 3 tradable first, Andrew Wiggins and a Nikola Jovic for a legit point guard a la a Ja Morant, a la Trae Young. And you could argue if those 2 fit alongside Herro, Bam, Ware, and DeRozan in its own right, but that's the point of this. I am not trading for DeMar DeRozan unless you are seriously upgrading the guard spot next to Tyler Herro as well, because as I mentioned, I do not believe that lineup that I mentioned with DeMar and no true point guard that you trade for gets you anywhere in the Eastern Conference. So I don't think it's really worth doing if you're Miami. But if you go out there and use the other contract like Wiggins, assets like Jovic, and your 3 first-round picks to acquire a legit starting all-star caliber point guard next to Herro, well, then maybe we will be in business, because I am not that high on the offensive fit between DeRozan, Herro, Bam. But if you're able to get a point guard that can really control the pace, maybe move Herro more to an off-ball role, and you allow that point guard to attack the rim and space the floor as well, well, then maybe it's working. Maybe that is where we go. If we're talking about trading for a older veteran wing, I would still rather trade for Kevin Durant. And let's just say the trade ideas we floated out are exactly what get him done, right? The Heat trade Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, Hawkes or Jovic, and a couple first-rounders for Durant. I would rather make that trade, although it costs Miami a lot more, than trading for DeRozan, because KD is so dominant in the clutch. He's dominant in the mid-range, but he's also a better floor spacer. He shot 42% from 3 this past season. Is this a better scorer, a better volume guy, a better efficient guy than DeRozan? So if I'm making a trade for an older 35-plus year age wing, I would rather go with KD. That's just my thoughts on the matter. But you can always let me know your thoughts by hitting me up at Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. Go in the comments section. Just make sure you're subscribed, because we're talking Miami Heat basketball every single day. So join the channel for daily content.